Marianne Williamson has announced that she is running for president, and if Biden announces his reelection bid, she will be challenging him in the Democratic primary. Here from ABC News, Marianne Williamson, the self-help author who unsuccessfully sought the Democratic nomination in 2020, officially launched her 2024 presidential campaign on Saturday. Williamson is the first major Democratic challenge to President Joe Biden should he run for re-election as anticipated, but her entrance into the race isn't likely to change the minds of leading Democrats who said they're firmly behind Biden and don't expect a conventional primary for the nomination. Before we get to my response, quickly here is a little bit of the build up to during her speech, her actually saying formally that she's a candidate, and then you'll hear her make that announcement.
We should be making a emergency level just transition from a dirty economy to a clean economy, and an emergency level just transition from a war economy to a peace economy. None of those fundamental changes are going to happen, however, until and unless we the people step in. No one person can fix it. This is a time of collective effort. All of us are necessary in whatever way our heart leads us to serve. This is not a time, however, to just ask, what can I get? It's time to ask, how can I serve? I'm not saying that one person can fix it. I'm not saying even one president can fix it. But let me tell you something, a president who lays it down and says it like it is would do a lot of good. And so I'm here today, again, with my deep thanks for your coming here. I have a request to make. I, as of today, am a candidate for the office of President of the United States.
Okay. Cool. So, Marianne Williamson running for president. Got some people contacting the show, which, by the way, you can do at lukebeasleyshow.com/contact, wondering my response to this and wondering if I am pumped about her campaign. And so I'll just be upfront and honest with y'all about my stance on this. Up front, I'll say I totally recognize she has progressive policies. That's great. If those policies get more attention because she gets more publicity through a presidential run, that's great. A lot of her message is good. And she calls out parts of our broken political system that I think often so many politicians don't call out. So that's good. But as far as a candidate, not just what discussions will get more attention because she's running for president, but as an actual candidate, if I'm going to compare her to the likely alternative being Biden, and we can also recognize up front, she has pretty much no chance of defeating Biden in a primary. But setting that aside, even her as a candidate nationally, if she were able to get the nomination, is not someone I would feel confident about being able to do well in a national campaign. That's just the reality in my mind. I think part of that comes down to qualifications. She comes from kind of the self-help author world, which isn't bad, but for a presidential candidate, it's hard to see that as the type of foundation that sets you up nicely to be president of the United States. And there's just in her past no ability to derive an understanding of her governing efficacy and her ability to implement policies and all those different things that are helpful to understand before someone's the president of the United States. Now, it's not impossible to not have that experience and you're a good president possibly, or you could be a good president, but I do think Marianne Williamson would have an incredibly difficult time doing well in a national race. And as I mentioned, we're not even going to really likely spend much time on that conversation because she won't be able to win against Biden. Doesn't mean good things can't come of the campaign. Doesn't mean a lot of her policies aren't great, but that's just kind of my initial take on this. So those facts make me not super pumped about it because it's not someone that I would even favor in a national campaign over Biden. Not because on paper is she more progressive, just because of the understanding, or at least I believe it's a correct understanding to have, that Biden would have a million times better shot at running a successful national campaign against the Republican nominee, with all of his flaws, of course. But I still do think that's the reality, as I see it. So if you disagree, doesn't mean we're enemies. I'm seeing some people who will give the stance I have, and then some within the left lose it. That's not necessary. We can all still be fighting for the same progressive, more equal, more just future, and want to approach it in different ways and have different analysis on these types of situations. No need to get super angry or opposed to one another over this discussion, I don't think. Instead, I'm just curious to hear where you guys land and what your response is to my response. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show hours before all the clips are uploaded to YouTube, plus get the full bonus show every single Saturday, you can do so by going to patreon.com/Luke Beasley. That's patreon.com/Luke Beasley. Link in the description.